Hello and welcome to the 95th episode of Downtime Podcast, aka Sidequest. How's it going, Alyssa?
You know what? It's going. It's been like a really long 2 weeks, but it's going. So.
Yeah, no, I feel it. But the weather's been nice in the Bay, which
tomorrow is spring.
Yeah, tomorrow's the first official day of spring in the Northern Hemisphere, so that's pretty exciting.
It feels weird, really weird, because since we're older and since we have such monotonous jobs, that time passes by faster because you're doing your 9 to 5. It's already past the middle of March, and that freaks me out.
Yeah, I've noticed that when I started my new job, everything seemed to go by really fast. Even when I was doing nothing, and at my old gig, I guess it's because I just didn't like it, and that's why everything moves so slowly. But I love what I do now, and I love the people that I work with, and I think that's probably why it kind of makes things go faster, is because
and that's great.
When you like what you do and you like the people that you work with, and you kind of just overall like the company that you work for and the culture, I think that just adds up to a better, faster workday. And it could be a bad thing if you're trying to meet a deadline, but if you're just like working on some back end tasks that really doesn't have a deadline, then I think that it's fine. It's fine.
Would you say that what you're doing right now was what you studied for in college?
Absolutely not. And there's some people on my team that went to college for the same thing. They went to college for cinema for a different school, obviously. But we were talking about how we kind of led on this path that went to somewhere else, and we just went through. We did the film stuff, and then we needed something more stable, or for whatever reason, like you kind of find your own way doing something. And yeah, we all kind of agreed that we all ended up here for something else, but we all went to school for something else, but we ended up here doing something that's completely different. And that's kind of like how a lot of things work. There are a lot of people that are in business that end up becoming filmmakers, or there's a lot of people that realize that they didn't want to be web developers. They wanted to be dentists. So, life is funny in that way, where you kind of just take a turn and, hey, you're doing something that you never thought you'd be doing in 1,000 years.
I feel like years ago, like decades ago, there was a pressure, especially after the 50s, where to be domesticated and to be settled, the job that you kind of have is the job that you continue on with forever. But now, at least what I like about the millennial, one of my favorite things about what the millennial generation brought is that you can, if you put your mind to it, you can pursue whatever you want, no matter how old you are. Like, I remember when I was in college, there was legit like a 55-year-old dad who was back in college because his son already moved out, and he was like, well, I actually don't want to do this anymore. I want to become an engineer. And he was in my math classes.
That is dope.
I know. So it's what's great is it's never too late for anything. It feels more real now than it's ever felt.
Yeah, I've met some people, or sorry, specifically a woman in my film classes, and she was like much older, like much, much, much older. And then she was talking to us about how her son is like doing this and that, and how she wanted to go into just filmmaking. She just wanted to like collaborate and make movies. She wanted to do like a myriad of different things. As long as there was a set, she wanted to help out. She was so nice, super, super
That's
nice.
Awesome.
And yeah, and she realized that, she wanted to go in a different direction later on in life. And that's just how it works. Like you kind of look back on what you did and you think about what you want to do now, and sometimes going back on your point, it's maybe the thing you're looking for, you didn't know existed until it makes an appearance in front of you. Like for me, when I was trying to find a new job, I was like applying to all these different places, from like a role that I was currently in to roles that I didn't think fit me. And one of the jobs that I applied for is the job I ended up getting. And I didn't think twice of it. I was just like, all right, well, this looks like it's going to be interesting. I'll just apply here. And I was applying on all these other places and not hearing anything back until this place called me back. And they're like, oh, hey, we really like your resume. Can you tell us more about you? And then I passed that stage. You went to the interview stage. After the interview stage, I got the job and I was given the offer letter. So it's more like to say that you should always persevere in whatever that you want to do. And sometimes, even if you do give up hope, your path may take you somewhere else that you never knew was there or didn't expect it. Like it's, if you come across a fork in the road, do you go left or right? Well, some people, they might think outside of the box and go down the middle or go to the left or go to the right. It's like, you don't really have to you don't have to go in the direction that others should perceive you to go, or the notion that you should go shouldn't be the one that you think you should go. It should be the one that you feel you should go towards. I don't know. That was like a lot of different things in one sentence, but yeah. My advice to anyone that is trying to find a job or thinking about making a change in their career in life, it's just act on what you feel is right, because sometimes when you don't think it's the right choice, think about it a little bit more and maybe it is the right choice.
The gut is one hell of a mind reader.
Absolutely.
I remember, cause currently my role is like half management, half technical. And when I originally went to college, I was doing a lot more technical stuff. And to be honest, I don't mind that aspect at all. I like it, but there was just so much more to me that I just didn't. It's one of those things where you go through your classes and you're in front of a computer all the time. And finally, when I left college, I realized, oh, holy shit, like I do not want to be in front of a computer this entire time. Like there's more to me. Like I have ideas for stories and I like to manage people, and I like to kind of be a hands-on person. I like wearing all the hats, and being in a lot of leadership positions throughout my entire life, I felt like there was more to me than just being a programmer. And don't get me wrong, like being a programmer is totally fine. It's just for me personally. So I just kind of like followed my gut, and now I am where I am right now, and I do feel a lot better. It's kind of interesting because when you go into college and you start off with computer science or you start off with software development of some degree, typically when you're doing it, you're going into like 95% of what's the most popular focuses to go into is databasing, cybersecurity, networking.
Yeah,
not
IT.
IT, like all of these different things. Like going into kind of animation and graphics is like not only like one of like the least popular things to do with computer science, but it's probably the lowest paying type of computer science developer that you can be. And I know for a fact that just when I had a lot of classes in college and they had to do with networking or they had to do with databasing, I didn't do as well in those classes, but like those are the classes that like Google will hire you for or whatever. But then when I had like classes on computer graphics, like those were the classes that like I got like A's on all the time. And I just like, I think another piece of advice that I have to give is that don't do what everyone else is doing or what people tell you is financially stable, or being financially stable is a good thing, but I guess what I mean by that is Like, just because something pays over like 150 doesn't mean that you're going to be happy. Like, what if something pays like 80, but it brings you the most happiness? So, just because something is the most popular thing, it doesn't necessarily mean it's like the most right thing for you.
Absolutely. You know, having more money always has its caveats. You know, you're in the next tax bracket, you got to pay more taxes. Maybe the company might take more out of your, you know, your paycheck because of healthcare reasons or whatever. Yeah, it just like doesn't. You don't always have to equate money to happiness, and moving up in the world should be a natural thing, not kind of an instant thing. A lot of recent grads expect to be making like 50 to 60K when they come out of college. I'm like, no, you're gonna start a lot lower than that.
I had some classmates that were upset that they weren't making over 100 in their first job, and I'm like, holy Jesus, like, I'm lucky if you hire me and I get like 70 or like 60, you know what I mean? It's just like, what, like,
Yeah.
you know, like that's even like that's like a 1 in a million chance. And then and then there's some people where it's just like, oh, but I'm applying for Facebook and Facebook overpays everyone. And I'm like, oh, well, like Facebook is an anomaly, you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
they're not like every single company.
And does more pay equal happiness in your job? You know, that's debatable. You know, you might not like your team, you might not like your boss, you might not like the nature of your work.
One thing that I especially learned in college and just like going through my professional life is you can be at whatever company, but the department you get put into, if you don't like that department and if you don't like your direct supervisor and you don't like the projects, then the company is just a name.
Absolutely. And I think it's kind of safer to say now, but Alyssa and I used to work together at an ad agency, and we didn't really like our team so much. Like, there were people on our team that we didn't like, and our boss we didn't like. So, yeah.
It was really frustrating, at least for me, because I felt creatively stifled in that position. And as I said earlier, I want my job to be more than just kind of doing the task. I feel like I want to actually sit in meetings and there's a brainstorming meeting and we're thinking of ideas, and I actually want to be an idea maker. So
Yeah.
so just this whole entire, like, don't get me wrong, that job really helped because that was a point in my life where I was balancing so many different like jobs and side jobs just because I was trying to like make money and like eventually get into a company that like will just offer me like one stable job. But like that did teach a lot of just that taught in general how to multitask as well as teach a variety of different projects. And it's one of those things where it creates a good, I guess, like work ethic, but I wouldn't necessarily say that work ethic was because of something inspirational.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think that that job specifically taught me how to organize my time, how to basically just like get things done quickly and on time. Basically project management. And when I carried that over from that job to my current job, like I realized like my mindset was completely different going into this new job. The new job was like, hey man, take it easy. It happens when it happens. The old job was like, okay, do it now and do it fast. And so going from that space to a new space where everything is a lot slower, for me, it just, sometimes I feel anxious because I have nothing to do. I'm just sitting there like, what do I do? Like, is there something I need to be doing? And they're like, no, there's nothing you need to be doing. It's week 3 for you. Just like chill. And I'm like, okay, cool. You know, it's like, and I'm like sitting there like, okay, what should I be doing? Like, I'm literally on Facebook, like chatting with you, like, hey, Alyssa, how's it going? Because I have nothing to do. But that's not to say that I'm like worthless or useless there. Like, I do get anxiety because I'm like, do they really need me for anything? Like, seriously, I sit there and I'm thinking like, is my boss gonna fire me? Because that's kind of the mindset that I came from. It's like, if I'm not doing something or if I don't look busy, then
I'm screwed.
You know, yeah, pretty much. Like if someone sees you doing something wrong or like, out of the job, then they're going to be like, why are you doing that? Why are you looking at that when you should be working? But that was where I came from. But now it's like everyone's like on Twitch or like on Amazon or like, on YouTube, like one screen's for YouTube, one screen's for work, and they're watching the YouTube video. And I'm like, wow, this is a lot different. This is a really weird change of pace, and it's okay. And, it's okay to be doing that. I'm like, this is okay. In my mind, I'm like, this is so weird. But I think I just need to embrace it more and kind of get out of that old mindset. And there's still parts of my mind that are lingering from that old job, where I felt like someone was constantly looking over my shoulder, making sure I was doing what I was supposed to do, instead of where now it's like, hey, man, get this done when it's done. I'm like, okay, cool. He's like, yeah, man, just take your time. I know you're still learning. And I'm like, well, but I have to do it now. I get it done quickly. And there's a surprise when I do something quickly. They're like, wow, that was really fast. I'm like, yeah, I know. What's next? It's just like, I need to learn to just take it at a slower pace and not worry about any external force that's going to come down on me and smite me.
Yeah.
My advice to anyone that is looking for a job or looking to change their job is like, look for something where the people appreciate what you do, appreciate you as a human, and take their time in teaching you what they know and how to do it, instead of them like constantly pressuring you to do it and learn it quickly. Make sure that whoever is teaching you how to do something, make sure that they want to make sure that you know what you're doing, because I think that's important when going into a new job.
Yeah, some supervisors and mentors don't care, or they want you to learn everything by yourself,
which I'm not a fan of. Honestly, it may sound like hand-holding, but if you don't understand something, you should not be afraid to ask a question. You should be like always asking questions, even if they get to an annoying point, if you think they get to an annoying point. Because if you screw it up, then, that's all on you, because you weren't given the proper guidance.
Yeah.
But if you get the proper guidance and are told exactly what to do and how to do it, then, I think it's going to be better for you in the long run, because then, knowing that asking questions is not a bad thing is better than not asking questions and screwing up.
Agreed.
Yeah. So, yeah, again, I'm not saying that the last place that we were at was a bad thing. It definitely helped jumpstart a lot of where Alyssa and I are now. I mean, this podcast is a product of our creative frustration from that previous place.
Yeah.
And look where we are now. Don't listen to episode 1. Just saying, look where we are now.
I swear to God, guys. I swear to God.
Look, we evolved. We're different people now. That was not us. All right, it was us, but we were naive. All right, we were 2 years younger. You don't have to do that. You don't have to do that.
Going off of one of the questions on our Discord from PJ Sucks, aside from anything academic, what would our 27-year-old self wish that our college self knew? Because we already talked about a lot of the academic related stuff, but what about other life lessons?
Oh, wow. Okay. I have several things. Or do you want to go first?
I feel like it's one of those things where I'd spout them off, but I guess I'll go with one thing first.
Yeah.
So okay, this is going to sound really bad, but
nope, just do it.
All right. I wish that when I was in college, I was more satisfied and I didn't worry so much about grades. And what I mean by that is, like, there's a saying that says C's get degrees. And God, what a fucking true ass statement, because I know God, your GPA really doesn't matter. And then here I was in college and I would freak out because I was always for me, my GPA, I was always borderline 3, which is basically like B, like straight B.
Yeah.
And But what would happen is like I'd get an A in one class and I'd get a C in another class, and I was always so worried about my GPA. And basically especially to what I do now at 27, God, I wish I could tell my like former self, hey man, like you're going to be in a career where no one gives a shit about your GPA and you're not going to be operating a surgery on someone. Like it's going to be okay. Just take the C plus, or like, you know what I mean? Like it's not that big of a deal. I wish that like in hindsight, what I wish someone told me when I went to college was, hey, look at the career that you're actually going to go in, that you think that you might go into. And if it is not anything medical related, then like if you don't get straight A's, it's going to be okay.
Yeah. No, I agree. I'm kind of in the same boat as you. I was always a C kid. I did get A's and B's here and there, but mostly I just wanted to pass because maybe I just didn't have the hindsight, or maybe I did, but I didn't realize it. That I knew that I didn't need to have good grades to, to get to where I am now, because in middle school and even before that, you're taught get good grades. High school, get good grades. College, get good grades. After that, it's like, does your report card even matter to your boss? He's going to look at it and go, all right, well, looks like you passed all your classes. Otherwise, you wouldn't have graduated. Like, they don't care.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like, no one really cares after college. You can get whatever grades you want for any of your classes. You don't have to compare yourself to others. It's like my brother did a lot better than me in school. Like he got a lot better grades than me, and I just didn't care. I know my parents were kind of worried about me. They kind of sent me to like Kumon, because they thought
the math.
Yeah, they wanted me. Yeah, because I wasn't like a super straight A kid in math. I didn't do very well in math. Because I just didn't care about it. Like I'm like, all right, I just tell me how to do a subtraction, division, addition, multiplication, and I'll do my taxes, and I'll I'll pay for rent. That's all I need to do. And after that, like I'm not gonna square anything when I'm paying for rent. I'll just multiply it, or I'll just divide it, or I'll subtract it. When I do rent, when I calculate my rent, I add up the total, I subtract it, I divide by how many people are in my house, which is just my brother and I, and then that's it. Like there's no statistics required. There's no like chemistry in this required. There's nothing. No chemical math, no higher math, nothing. It's just like when I look back on it, I'm like, I too should not have worried so much about getting better grades, because C's do make degrees. I don't remember what my grades were when I graduated college. I probably got a couple of C's and some B's and maybe 1 or 2 A's. And I am perfectly happy with that, because had I known where my career is going to take me and where I would be, in all aspects, I probably wouldn't have taken a lot of actions I did. But because of that, I think I'm a better person now. I think just overall not caring about all that stuff definitely makes me, feel relieved in a way. Yeah. So if you're worried about your grades right now, it's all good. Your grades are not going to cross over to when you're a doctor.
Yeah. Although one would argue that you should know the anatomy of a body if you're going to be a doctor.
Oh, absolutely. But even if you get a C in that class, it's not like you're going to end the world or whatever.
Have you ever heard of baccalaureate?
Yeah.
Yeah, the fact that you can go to community college and it's just kind of like if you didn't do well in one class that's needed for, say, like an LSAT or needed for medical school, you can retake that class and it'll either average the grade or it will show that like you did better.
Oh, nice.
Because you passed the class. But it's just kind of like, yeah, it's just like I feel like in any situation it's just never too late.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I think in hindsight, I I could have done, I think and this is just the way that I operate. This is the way that I study. This is the way that everything happened. In hindsight, I probably would have done better in school if I didn't have to work a few part-time jobs, and if I didn't join like certain clubs, and if I didn't like, if I say like did summer school versus like take this certain experience or whatever. But I think that those experiences shape to who I am as a person today. And like, even though I'm not even though it like I have like a 2.93 GPA, is just kind of like, well, I feel like all of my college experiences have prepared me better for my professional career than any databasing class that I ever took, which is no longer even relevant to the field that I'm in.
Right.
So I pretty much like, I would also tell my college self, like, you know what, just fuck it, just go to the club meeting. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like, don't even worry about that. Just go to the meeting and have fun and meet a bunch of people that will last longer than your grades.
Yeah, or like the times when I like skipped out on like going to like a study hall, and instead like with my roommates we binged Chopped or something. And I remember like I would be like so worried, like, wow, I didn't go to this study hall. And now I'm just like, but now you're like best friends with your roommates, and like I said, in the end, like, you graduated, so it's whatever.
Yeah, no, totally. Something that I kind of want to build off of that is, when I was in college, I worried a lot about a supportive network, meaning that I really wanted to have a lot of friends. I don't know why I thought that way, but maybe I just wanted to have that full college experience.
Mm-hmm.
And so I threw a lot of parties at my house, actually. Surprisingly, there were a lot of people that came, and like every Friday, it seemed like we always had a party. But if I could go back in time and tell myself, like, hey, honestly, like, you don't need this many friends. Only a handful of friends that support you and actually are real homies instead of the fake homies, then those are the ones that are going to stick with you for life. Because, yeah, I mean, I was so worried about that up until the end of college, about just having a lot of friends and knowing a lot of people, that it kind of didn't work out in my favor. And I wish I didn't worry about that too much, because to this day, I don't have like hundreds of friends, despite what Facebook says. That's just like people that add you. You don't really have to talk to everyone on Facebook. But for me, I just wanted to, be someone that was known. And now I feel like I don't need that anymore. I feel like I just need a couple of people to understand me, support me, some people that I can talk to, like, of all the people that I met in college, there are only a handful right now that I can name off the top of my head that I can talk to and have like a one-on-one deep conversation with. Yeah. And even in my own department, in my own major, I was so worried about like making friends in my own major. I was like, man, there was a part of me that really didn't feel like I fit in. And going back and thinking about it, like, yeah, maybe I didn't fit in with the people that were there, because everyone wanted to be a director. Everyone wanted to be, the next big director in Hollywood. And for me, it was like, I was like, I don't want to go to LA. I want to stay up here. But of course, having a film career and staying in the San Francisco Bay Area is like, what's the point of doing that if you want to, do what you want to do? So I focused my attention on new media, which was like, YouTube, Vimeo, Twitch. Like that's new media. And I became, more interested with cameras and how cameras work, bit rates work from like an editing perspective. And if I could go back and tell myself, like, hey, you don't need to worry about any of that. Honestly, like, you'll follow a career path that has elements of that, but it won't be that 100%. And
yeah,
I really thought about becoming a freelance filmmaker, when I graduated, because I didn't know where I wanted to go with my film career. I only knew that I liked cameras and I liked being a cinematographer. I liked being a DP, a director of photography, and that's it. And right now, part of my job does include video editing, actually. So there's elements of the cinema department, cinema aspect that have come into my job, and I enjoy it. Like in my current gig, I wear a lot of hats, anything from like editing small videos to like talking to like clients. So it's not just the main focus of my job, which is like video stuff, but there is some room for creativity, some room for input, which I like a lot. And on the side, I get my other creative fill by working with friends, like, making random YouTube videos, or just like, planning out shoots, such as like that Terrace House parody that we've talked about before, that you, of course, were involved in, Alyssa.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of where I get my creative outlet from. And if I can go back and tell myself all this, then I would be probably a happier person. But, I don't regret any of it. I feel like all of that, all those experiences kind of taught me the hard way. Like, you don't have to be friends with everyone. You don't have to follow your major to a T. There's more than just becoming a director in the film department. There's like, being someone on the back end, like an editor, or like working with licensors, working with studios. Like, you don't have to become a filmmaker. You can become a film producer, or like, a gaffer or something like, there's different aspects of it. So, I mean, again, I don't regret it, but if I could tell myself that my life goes in a different direction for the better, I would probably do that.
For sure. Very solid advice.
Absolutely.
Last random piece of advice I wish my college self knew was, I wish that I utilized my kitchen more in college, and I had more, or in the time that I spent like buying food, I wish I cooked a lot more. And that's simply that's just more from a core standpoint of, I think everyone should know how to cook essentials, and I wish that I did that a lot more in college and just kind of developed a method to the madness. A lot of stuff that I'm learning about cooking, I actually learned after I graduated, but I wish that I experimented a lot more in college.
Yeah, but it's never too late. Never too late to learn, Alyssa. So.
Oh yeah, no. I said, I like a lot of the stuff that I'm learning is like from now, is I'm doing it right now, but I wish that I had an earlier start, as because I had so much time to spend in college.
Right. Yeah, I feel it.
Yep. And I think that's like the last thing I wish I told my college self. And then there's probably like some stuff related to like relationships.
I was just going to say that.
I feel like I can talk for hours about relationships.
I just want to say one final word about that, and building off of that. I would go back in time and tell myself, hey, don't worry about getting a girlfriend. Don't worry about any of that stuff, because, things like that happen naturally. Kind of on a personal side note, I met my current girlfriend through mutual friends, and I was so worried about having a relationship in college and just like, building off of that and understanding that I kind of got caught up in all that. So much so that it ruined a friendship, and, it kind of steered my life in a direction that I didn't think at the time was a good thing. But thinking back now, and thinking back and reflecting on those experiences, I think it was for the best. And I would tell myself, if I could go back and be like, hey man, you're going to meet someone in the future that is pretty much you, but a girl, and she's so fun, but I can't tell you anything besides that. It's like, I don't want to break the space-time continuum. So yeah, no, in a nutshell, I would tell my past self not to worry about any of that stuff, because like, it'll happen. You just gotta wait, gotta wait.
That's a good one. I think my really quick thing on relationships is I think that it's okay if you and someone drift apart, but it's not because anything bad happened. It's just because somewhere down the line your interests started to change and you two started walking different paths. Because I had a long-term on and off relationship that was just like so winded, and it basically lasted until college, and then then the relationship ended. But like part of it had to do with the fact that we were just no longer into a lot of the same things. And of course, like when a breakup happens, it's the end of the world, especially when you're that young. But now it's just kind of like, yeah, like of course I wouldn't date someone who didn't have the same interests as me. So the piece of information that I have, not just for that actually, but for friends, is, you know, it's okay if sometimes you guys drift apart simply because you guys drift apart. Nothing ever needs to be like a finite, we got into a huge fight over this, or this person did that, and like, I just couldn't talk to them anymore, or just like, yeah, there was this huge issue. Sometimes the issue is just simply like, you know, life goes on and people change.
Absolutely. That's actually a good one, because going back to my thing about worrying about a supportive network and a group of friends, it's like there were some people that I hung out with a lot, even after college. I hung out with them, but now it's like I don't talk to them anymore, and that's just normal, you know. Some people are like,
Yeah.
why don't you talk to so and so? I'm like, you know, I just don't feel like I want to, and that's
Yeah,
okay.
exactly.
That's okay. You don't have to worry about not talking to so and so, or, you know, trying to be friends with that person anymore. Sorry, this is my final thing, I swear. I recently caught up with a friend that had really big goals and aspirations, and that friend met a part of those goals and aspirations, and I started talking to them, and I just didn't really feel that connection anymore, you know? It's like we didn't talk to each other for like a couple years, and then we finally talked to each other, and I was like, I don't think I could be your friend anymore. And I was talking to my girlfriend about that, and she's like, well, you guys seem like you were good friends before. I'm like, yeah, we were, but like now it's just, I just feel like I don't need to talk to them anymore. They have their own life going on. They have their own set of friends. They have their own group going on. And now it just seems like I don't really fit into their life puzzle anymore. And that's okay, you know?
Okay.
That's totally okay. You don't have to worry about mending and bandaging every single friendship that you had or have.
Totally.
If you drift apart, hey, that's life. If you really, really, really want to chase that, you know, that friendship and pursue that, then by all means, like, go ahead and do that. But sometimes it's just better if you let it go.
And then sometimes things come together after you drift apart. So life works in mysterious, strange, dumb ways. So you never know what's going to happen.
Yep. Man, Alyssa, this is a deep talk podcast.
Oh God, I can go into relationships forever, but like I can't do it tonight. I can't do it tonight. Oh Jesus.
We should do another side quest where it talks about that stuff. So hey, if you're listening to the side quest, comment on our Discord about love related questions.
No.
And we will.
Okay.
No, maybe not towards us, but like ask
general questions.
Ask like if you need advice on something, we will answer. But don't ask us personal questions about our love lives.
Don't ask us personal questions.
I feel really uncomfortable talking about that on the podcast actually, because you don't know who's listening. But for the most part, hey, if you have any romance advice that you need us to give you, we will answer it on the podcast on the next edition of Sidequest. We'll see how far that goes. If we don't get enough questions, we won't make the whole side quest solely about relationships and love, but we'll see how many questions we get. So yeah. I think they'll be fun. We should have done it. Yeah, we should have done it for Valentine's Day, but hey, it's fine. It's never too late.
It's never too late.
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm excited. Now to completely go into entertainment, I finished part 6 of Terrace House, Opening New Doors, which is the last 8 episodes of the series. And my goodness, if that was not a complete 180 of what happened in part 5.
So different.
Which was probably as wholesome as part 2.
Absolutely.
Or part 1. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we went from oh, everyone's getting along pretty well, to holy shit, everyone hates each other.
Yeah, right. That was insane. I can only say that it was a good end to this season. Like,
have you noticed that the last part of every Terrace House, some crazy shit happens. Like,
I know.
Opening New Doors was the whole Risako, Yui, and Io battle. Maya was included too, but Maya I feel like was a bystander who was thrown into it by Yui, who was trying to cause drama.
Yeah.
Like, and then obviously Sherry, in like, no need to talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
And then the big one, Rikopin and Hayato with Tokyo. Jeremy, my one question for you about the Terrace House series is, do you think that the producers and the way that this TV show is ran is going to reconsider how they shoot the series just because of all of the meta that's happened this entire season? I think, and like, I'm not completely following the whole process of Terrace House, but I feel like when the whole Rico Pin and Hayato thing happened and Burns called it out, it was like as if a switch was flipped of a possibility that like I never thought was actually possible on Terrace House, which is that they would hide something off cameras. And then at that point, I actually thought that the cameras were on the entire day. I didn't know that they stopped filming like at a certain point and that they didn't even film like every day for Terrace House. So like that was just like a whole different factor. And I think that what we see with Opening New Doors is that the cast is basically caught on and is smart now to think, whether you're Risako, who is trying to think of a storyline to further promote herself on Terrace House, or whether you're Yui, who you came into the house and you tried to convince everyone that you're innocent, but it turns out that you're not actually innocent that at all behind the scenes. It's like, do you think that the producers like the fact that there is a meta of like there's drama because there's things happening off camera, or do you think that they don't like the fact that there were things happening off camera? I mean, Seina and Noah is another example, but you get my gist.
Yeah. To answer your question, I think they like that because it's happened a couple times now, and even if they couldn't control it, I do still feel like it's a little bit scripted, a little bit controlled, simply because this is just how they want the show to end. They want the show to end on a really big note, but also for the whole cast to reconcile. To show that despite, troublesome times, we can all still be friends. I think that's kind of the end message they always want to have at the end of every season. Given the amount of Terrace House seasons that are on air, and that have existed, and how many people have been on Terrace House, I would say not everyone could be friends after every season, especially this one. It feels like the people that kind of became friends at the very end with each other, like Kaito and Maya, Risako and Masao, and Yui and Ayo, I think they all separately became friends with each other and just went their own ways. I don't know. Of course, I'm just speculating. But, it seems like what the media is telling us, it seems like what the show direction is telling us is that that's just how it's going to be ended as.
Even though some parts here and there are scripted, it's very clear to me that the first two parts had more chemistry than the last part. And
yeah,
I do think that, like, I'd be shocked if Yui and Risako specifically are still are friends at all.
Yeah.
I think Rikopin and Hayato's is my favorite end to Terrace House, because it was just like the first time I ever experienced an off-screen meta moment. And then Sherry was just like, I hated Sherry, so it doesn't matter. And then in Risako, and then I'd rate Risako and Yui second because like I was really rooting for Risako. Like, first of all, like, God, Yui really threw Maya under the bus. Like,
Yeah.
what are you doing? Like, I hate that. Okay, I'm sorry. Because what annoys me about the whole situation, and I'm saying this because I am also kind of a tomboy and I understand the mentality that Maya has. So Maya gets along with the boys, but the thing is that she's already established that she likes one of them. So the fact that she already established that she likes Kaito only, she's like, it's very clear that she's only hanging out with the boys just because like she's friends with them. But then Yui like throwing her under the bus, like, you know, like to just cause all of this drama with Maya and Risako really annoyed me just because I've been in that type of situation before.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And then I was like, dude, I don't know what's going on right now, and I don't know why they're arguing over socks, and like I'm confused like where this is all rooted. And then finally like you realize, oh, it's all rooted in Yui. Like, which is like ridiculous.
She's a little snake.
She's a snake. God, my favorite moment of the whole drama was when Risako wakes up Yui while she's sleeping, and Risako just goes, "How far did you go with Io?" And then Yui is like trying to act hella dumb. That was like my absolute favorite part because you see in her eyes how she got caught, and then all of a sudden she wakes up. It's like, Io, I need to talk to you. And I'm just like, this is amazing. This is absolutely amazing.
It's good TV, good stuff.
I know.
Yeah, that part where she was like, "Oh, I fucked up," you know, it's like she was trying to cover her tracks to make sure that she wasn't the one that was causing all this. But hey, you couldn't hide for long.
Yeah, pretty much. And then, man, I think like Masao and then Risako ended up not working out, obviously. And I think, okay, so it is unfortunate that they didn't work out, but there were parts about Masao that I feel like had the same tendencies as Shohei, where like he was like coming on really strong.
Yeah, I thought
the
that
only
too.
The only difference is that Masao actually recognized that he doesn't think that Risako sees him as boyfriend material, but he had to put it out there that he liked her anyways, because just the idea of putting it out there might change her mind. But like he was definitely more self-aware of like her feelings.
I gotcha. I feel like he definitely had the more mature vibe to him, and he knew how to control everything. But I don't know. It just like he did seem a little bit too forward, but I still liked him. You know, I still thought
he was like the best part of part 6.
Yeah,
and like the food he cooked, like,
oh yeah,
and Enon was on it. Like, what the heck? Like,
yeah, the fact that he was the bassist for Gesu, which is like a great band, I'm like, holy crap.
And Enon, who's like legendary status as like in terms of like his like infamy in Japan is like crazy.
Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah. I feel like there was a point where I feel like I would have liked I wish Risako actually made a friend in Terrace House. Like, and I mean like a girlfriend, like Tsubasa or something. I just feel like the crowd that like, what if Masao and Risako hung out with Shohei, Taka, and Seina while they were drinking. You know what I mean? Like that vibe. Like I just feel like it was, this season had a lot of personalities that I feel like would have gotten along with each other. They were just not in the same parts.
I was happy that it ended. Boys and Girls in the City still holds a very special place in my heart since it was the first season I ever saw of Terrace House. And every other season after it felt like, for me personally, it was trying to live up to that. I mean, it really wasn't, but for me, I felt like every season after that had to live up to this. But I feel like the Opening New Doors season came a close second to me emotionally when it came to Terrace House rankings, because I really like the characters in this. Well, why am I saying characters? I mean, like the actors in this one. It just, everything just felt so natural. Everyone had a place in all of this. The setting was really nice. There was enough drama for me to keep me engaged, to keep me wanting to watch the next episode after and after and after. You know, it always starts out questionable. For me, Boys and Girls in the City, was always the season that in the beginning I was like, okay, I know where this is going. And it just got better and better and better. Boys and Girls Next Door, the very, very, very first season, all of Terrace House, was always good from the get-go, I think. But Aloha State started kind of slow. Opening New Doors kind of started slow. Bless you. Yeah. And yeah, I just feel like this was a really, really solid season overall. It started okay, but it ended pretty well, I think. From a TV drama perspective, this was a really good Terrace House season. You know, like it hit all the right notes. It hit everything. There were couples, there were breakups, there were people getting mad at each other. Yeah, it was good. And I can't wait for the next series set in Tokyo.
Yeah. I understand why they chose Tokyo. It's just more like, yeah, there are more locations, but I mean, they want to surround it with the Olympics, which is fine. I will say, I made this argument before, and I still believe in this argument, that one of the reasons why it was hard for a lot of the Opening New Doors cast to get along with each other is because they were never in the house together, because they had to travel a lot for work, unless you're Tsubasa or Yui, who live in Karuizawa, where you have Tokyo Boys and Girls in the City, where they all had a job in Tokyo, and they did that on purpose. And like, you straight up had like people commuting to Tokyo from Karuizawa.
Ugh.
And it just makes sense to me that like whatever city is chosen, like it's becoming more clear to me that whatever city is chosen next, like they have to be near their job. Like overall, part 2 is still the best though. I think part 2 had the best chemistry. But
yeah,
part 6 was definitely brought all the drums. So what can I say?
I think for me, part 6 is the best because it brought Masao and it brought Gesu, one of my favorite Japanese bands ever. So couldn't compete with that.
Yeah, for sure.
It was definitely a shock to see someone that's already established as a famous personality on Terrace House. This is the first time that they've ever had someone that's already been recognized before. And it definitely felt different. I knew the vibe was going to be different, and I was right about that. And I was actually really, really against it when they first showed him, because I knew him from a couple years prior, like him as the bassist of Gesu, and I was like, I actually didn't want him to be on the show because he's already a recognizable person. And it turned out no one really knew who he was when he walked in. He's like, "Hey, I'm a bassist for a fairly famous band."
Hey.
They're like, "I don't know what band." And he's like, "Oh, Gesu." They're like, "Oh crap, you're that guy." And then it's like, oh, two and two together. But yeah, I was actually against him being on the show, but after a while, he actually grew on me, and he became one of my favorite members.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was shocked that it was even his band. So, this was a pretty huge reach of a character. Like, I don't know if we can get better casted than him. So,
I mean, honestly, I think they're going to bring more famous people into the next Terrace House because it's fucking, Tokyo. Tokyo is pretty much the Hollywood of Japan. But
yeah,
I don't know. We'll see. I mean,
yeah,
I'm not a huge fan.
Yeah, I they may be going in that direction because basically what I anticipate, because like the thing about Terrace House is there are points of it that are like a little bit planned and scripted, but I think that the fact that the cast is now really aware of it, I think we're gonna see a lot more. Like, I think Terrace House is at this point in time is probably less believable than it was 3 years ago. So
yes.
Yeah, we're really reaching a point where like now we're gonna see a lot more personalities played out because because they know that the camera's not being shot the entire time and they're exploiting it. So the fact that it's gonna be located in Tokyo, I wouldn't be surprised if there are more like celebrities on the show.
Well, that's what will bring people in. That's the nature of it. Hey, maybe get Pierre Taki on there. We'll see. Cool. Alyssa, where can people find us?
If you go to www.Downtime.Live, there's a Discord link, and you can email us at contact@Downtime.Live. And you can go to any of the platforms where we have the podcast, so YouTube, Podbean, Stitcher, anything, and you can leave a comment and we'll read it out. And if you listen to our podcast through Apple Podcast or iTunes, leave a review. And for the next episode, ask us a random question, a relationship question, and we will give you advice on it.
Not about our personal lives.
Yeah.
Please stay away.
Yeah, because I actually kind of don't know what your romance philosophy, so it'll be interesting. So
absolutely.
Yeah. All right, and thank you for listening to Sidequest. Have a good night.
Have a good one. Peace.